Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of At the Movies with William Fletcher. As per usual, I am your host, William Fletcher, and I am joined for this week's episode by Mr. Harry Jobson.
I'm back.
He's
I'm here.
very,
I've arrived.
very. And for this week's episode, we are going to be talking about Venom, and
Venom,
it's and
Venom,
its
Venom.
sequel, Venom. Let There Be Carnage, because they're doing Venom: The Last Dance. Be out this week when this episode goes out. So I hadn't seen these films until last night. I watched both these
Really?
films
I
yesterday.
referenced them in the Joker film, in the Joker episode.
Yeah, I'm aware of them, but I had not seen them until last night. So did you see them when they came out, Harry? Or
Oh yeah, yeah, I did. I can't exactly recall why, because I'm okay. Look, I'm a massive Spider-Man fan, but I
Hmm.
didn't go watch Morbius. You know what I mean? I think Venom, though, especially the first Venom,
Hmm.
I mean, I like Tom Hardy. I like Venom. I was like, surely I like this film, and I kind of did. The first one, it's a bit of fun. Especially when it
Hmm.
came out, it was like a much needed fun sort of film. But
Hmm.
yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. It's confusing is the word I'm going to use.
Yeah, I mean, we've sort of talked about Venom as a character when we did our big Spider-Man film retrospective, and we talked about Spider-Man 3 and Venom being in that film. Um, and Sam Raimi doesn't really like Venom or care for Venom because And I mean, look, I'm a big defender of Spider-Man 3. Like I honest
Oh,
to
me
God,
too.
I like Spider-Man 3 a lot. I think a lot of people don't. I
I
don't want
love
to
it.
say people don't quite get it because that just feels insulting to say, but I
Look,
think a lot of
in the
people
least
take it
insulting
too
way.
seriously.
Also, in the least insulting way, people are sheeple, dude. They hear one person's opinion on a film and then go, this is the opinion on this film." Like,
Y- mm,
I don't know. That's
yeah,
me defending Spider-Man 3, but someone said, "Ah, yeah, it's not as good as the other two," and then someone said, "Yeah, it's garbage," and then it's, "Oh, well, not," and now everyone just says,
yeah,
but like,
yeah. I
this
mean,
is
to talk about Venom, the film, I yeah, I did see it when it came out, and I remember. I mean, Sony for the past like 6 years now have just been making solo like villain films. They did Morbius, they've done Venom films, they've done Madam Web, they've done Craven.
Craven, yeah.
Like they've done all, and it's just like because they can't use Spider-Man really because Disney has like stake in Spider-Man, so they're just making their own things, and it's I I mean they're not very good, um, not been well received. But to talk about sort of the first Venom film, I think the first Venom film has a lot of I don't I need to I'm just gonna look up the reviews for Venom 2018. It's like so it's got a 30% on Rotten Tomatoes and a 6.6 on the audience score on Rotten Tomatoes is 80%, which that's a bit ridiculous as well, to be honest. I think that's a bit high. Um
Yeah, I think this is a solid 65.
that's yeah, that's a bit more reasonable. But yeah, anyway, Venom, I watched it last night and it was so weird to me because like not because the film's content was weird, but it was just sort of like I wasn't sure how it was because some of it was like quite funny and quite knowingly so I felt,
And then
but other
we're like,
times,
this is life or death, like seriousness.
yeah, and I just found that so weird. Like a lot of like some of it felt like it was this knowingly funny film that knew what it was doing and was purposely being funny, and then other times it felt like it was not it was unknowingly being like it was like a so bad it's good type of thing, and I just found that
It's
to be
trying to take
such a
itself too seriously. Yeah.
Yeah, and I found that so weird to watch because it's like, well, how am I meant to? I just didn't know how to take it, honestly, because
No,
I'm
I
like,
fully understand what you mean. There's this weird tonal imbalance where I can't decide whether or not the film wants to be serious or not because it does take a very satirical take on Venom.
yeah,
And it's then it'll say, for example, look, a scene that I think is really is the also, and it sets a bunch of things up for what we know about Venom, and then just completely disregards that in the second film, and even later on in this film. But anyway, like it's like this is super serious and important, and then Venom's introduced to Eddie Brock, and it's like funny.
mm,
He's eating lobsters. They take the fast way down, but then it's also like sacrifice seriousness, and it's like I don't know, like it's trying to be both Deadpool and like trying to be both you know Deadpool and Iron Man. Like it's trying to have its cake and eat it
mm,
too at times, where it's oh no, take it seriously. This is a superhero film to be taken seriously. This isn't a comedy,
yeah,
but it
mm,
should have been a comedy. Like if you, because I think the idea, the concept of using Venom, which is typically a terrifying like inner monologue of a character that brings out the
mm,
worst in someone, and it also lends a comment to Eddie Brock's character. But
mm,
to have him just be, nah, it's just kind of like a almost Emperor's New Groove, Devil Kronk on his shoulder, like goofy, over characterized, like in a monologue rather than just being what brings out the worst. Again, take in Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 3, and you've got that Eddie Brock who is fucking an insufferable incel. And like he is, dude. You just want like you see him and you're just like, oh, you got a real punchable vibe. Um, and then this Eddie Brock is like a cool leather jacket, motorcycle riding journalist detective,
mm,
like which I understand is more akin to the typical Eddie Brock storyline. But then to play that
mm,
off with an incredibly goofy Venom, I think could have worked really well if they just stuck to it all the film. Like the entire
mm,
film was that,
mm,
then that would have been fine. But it also tries to be this Eminem gritty Venom, 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 and
yeah.
it's weird. That's one little piece on the character though, and what I think they messed up
Yeah,
with the
I
tone.
think I mean you're more familiar with comics, right? Like I'm not like
Yeah.
a massive comic reader. Like how I mean how close is Tom Hardy's Venom to the comic?
Look, it depends on so each writer is going to have their different take. Um,
Mm,
but to have Venom has quite a large and wide spanning like universe of characters. Obviously, we've got the few of the ones we see both in the first and second film, Carnage. But
mm,
realistically, it's supposed to be this alien in a monologue. Like it's brought into the Spider-Man comics as this
mm,
um, alien in a monologue, and then eventually joins with Eddie Brock. But
mhm,
it's not. Oh, I don't know. He's supposed to be one of these Sinister Six,
mm,
these deeply intertwined within Spider-Man because they kind of just did Black Spider-Man, not Black Spider-Man. That's not no, but I mean like they did.
Black suit
You know what I
Spider-Man.
mean? Yeah, they did like Evil Spider-Man,
Mm,
Alien Evil Spider-Man, and it's his Reverse Flash. It's supposed to be, whereas Peter Parker and Spider-Man, you kind of look at the character of like responsibility and power and being just a good citizen and sacrifice. Venom's
mhm.
kind of a coward. Was supposed to be a bit of a like he's not a
Right.
heroic. Like he
Yeah,
doesn't
no,
die
I
on the
know he's
sword. He's an alien, a symbiote that is designed to survive at all costs. That's why he just churns through hosts. Which is something I want to bring
mm,
up because apparently what's set up at the start of the film is that oh, it'll kill anyone that isn't a perfect match. And then in this film, in the next film, Venom can bond with pretty much anyone. Any of the main characters turn out to be a perfect match for Venom. like the woman at the store or
Yeah, Michelle
his
Williams
love
or
interest.
yeah,
Yeah,
his love interest or like her mate who's with them as
yeah,
well. Like,
or like
mm,
I don't know, just I mean, conveniently Carnage, which is like
mhm,
Cletus Cassidy, like just conveniently Woody Harrelson. I don't know. There's a few. It kind of throws that concept out of the window. The Venom kills each host that it goes through until it meets a perfect like host match. But
mm,
yeah, I don't know. It's not.
yeah,
It is a very like they've really taken a lot of creative liberty. They kind of just took the Venom IP and the look
mm,
and just said, okay, we have this, we own this IP. We need to release a film to keep licensing, and we haven't done a film since Amazing Spider-Man 2. Let's do Venom.
yeah. I think what I sort of like about the first film is there are times where like there is like I mean I'm gonna say this straight up. Venom Let There Be Carnage is the worst film of the two. Like Venom Let There Be Carnage
Oh
is
yeah,
considerably worse. And I think the difference between the first two films is the second film trying way too hard to be funny, whereas the first film, there are places where I don't think it's trying to be funny, but it's unknowingly so, and that in turn makes it funny, and that makes it more enjoyable. That it's this sort of earnest, like, well, I don't know. There's something about the first film that is just more enjoy. I don't think it's like an amazing film or anything, but it is more enjoyable to watch. Like the second film, I felt was a much worse made film to me anyway, and I think the first um film I enjoyed it more. There was some really weird bits, like the bit where fucking uh Eddie, he goes to like that restaurant and he's like, and then he just climbs in like the lobster tank and he just starts eating like live lobsters or whatever. I thought like that's really weird,
yeah,
and I couldn't tell if that was meant to be funny or not. Like I was like, see, this feels like it's meant to be funny, but I cannot tell.
yeah,
And I don't know if that's a good thing or not, to be honest.
yeah. Again, it plays with the tone on whether or not it wants to be a comedy. It really should have lent itself completely into the comedy route, I believe, because
Mm,
Venom as a character trying to be an anti-hero but serious won't.
mm.
I don't think it can sustain its own film without there being a Spider-Man in there, which we'll get to in the
Yeah, I
second
mean, I
film.
think
But
that's the problem is Venom is interesting because you put him with Spider-Man. Like the the stories, symbiote
it's a complete
Spider-Man.
juxtaposition.
Yeah,
Whereas
and I
Spider-Man
mean,
swings through the
yeah.
air comfortably, confidently, Venom sort of sits in shadows. Like,
Yeah, exactly. And I think I mean that's been the whole problem with these Sonyverse films is they're making films about the villains, but there's no, you know, hero for them to go up against. You're taking these villains and making them anti-heroes or whatever, and it's just like that doesn't work. That doesn't it it feels almost like, well, what are we it just seems like a misguided idea to make films about villains. I mean, when we talked about this with Joker, I think we both agreed that Joker is a character that you could probably make a film out of where he's like the main character, but you can't really with like these Spider-Man villains because they're very much like I mean Venom you can't do Morbius, you could they didn't work. Um more like they just don't work. So I think it's but it is just Sony being like we need to keep these we can't lose the rights to these characters. We need to just keep making movies, even if they're not good. Like so, it
yeah.
is
And
things
I
Sony
think
owns.
I think you also got to look at least with Venom, like Eddie Brock isn't the final destination of that symbiote. He's an
Mm,
incarnation of because the symbiote isn't Venom. Venom is only when he's with Eddie Brock. The That's like Venom, but it's you know what I mean. But the whole concept, and they talk about it in the first film. If we go through the film, you look at
mm,
when they first sort of join, Eddie Brock's eating all the lobsters, and then he goes to his kitchen and he eats all like frozen potato gems, old food and stuff. And dude, that scene always makes me hungry. I'm not even kidding. But no, like he, the whole point is that Eddie Brock. So when they bond and they show it in the third film, the third
Mhm,
Spider-Man film,
mhm,
is Eddie Brock's going to that church to yeah, to not to unalive himself. Like he's going
mm,
into to put it in like a nicer term, but he's going this sort of a last ditch prayer before he
mm,
and he sent, because the whole point is that like, and again you see it in the third film, it's more of an origin story for Venom. Also,
mm,
apparently, Venom gets rewritten in the comics to like they meet in Secret Wars, not in that anyway. Um, he senses like Eddie Brock's anger towards Spider-Man because Spider-Man caused Eddie Brock to like lose his job, and
mm,
bonds with Eddie Brock. But Eddie Brock can't handle how much Venom's bloodlust is, and how much Venom likes eating heads, and how much Venom
mm.
is like this radical, like devil, like demonic character. Um, so it is quite interesting that, or like in this film or in these series of films, they're just like, hey, they're best buds, and they have a laugh about it. He says, only eat the heads of bad guys. Isn't that funny?
Yeah,
And it's like,
that
it's
I
so
found that so weird
inherently,
because
like, that part's goofy. It could have not, yeah.
I think what's so weird about this film is they sort of kind of like do that for a little bit where the characters are like where Venom and Eddie have sort of arguments like, "Oh no, we can't eat that guy," but it doesn't really feel like they tackle that really. It sort of feels like it's they pay 5 minutes, spend 5 minutes of the film's runtime to deal with that, and then that's it. It's just kind of like, well, what do we? I don't understand. Like it feels like that's a really interesting concept, and there's the scenes where Eddie's getting attacked, and then Venom is like defending him and everything. And I'm like, this is all quite decent, in concept, and some of it is a bit fun. It just doesn't feel like the film really tackle the
Yeah.
idea.
And the whole idea of Eddie Brock is that he is a bit of a soy boy. No, but he's a character that hates Peter Parker. Like, so,
Yes.
or again, Spider Man, whichever alias. Um,
Yeah.
Typically, Eddie Brock is like the third host, and he, but it's distinctly linked. Like, for example, one of the hosts of Venom in an incarnation is Flash Thompson, which is someone who hates Peter
Yes.
Parker. So there's a
Mm,
like there is a it's always supposed to be this, the let's say the human character of
mhm,
the enemy of Peter Parker to the or Spider Man. But yeah, I don't know. I find having Eddie Brock be just sort of some mid midlife like guy that's down on his luck and like just a bit of a journalist, and not tying that into Spider Man at all until the very end of the film, of the second film, I think is ridiculous.
mm.
Like
Yeah.
it's such an integral part. Again, it's like having a. I understand we critiqued Joker for trying to tie itself into Batman with the
Mm,
parents, which is absolutely true, but don't then hash it in at the end of the film. Like, for example, if you're going to make the Joker film, maybe make it like a an occurring theme of like, I don't know, like maybe Bruce Wayne kicked his shins or some shit. Like, I don't know, make it so it's so the characters are intertwined at some point, but not just shoehorned at the end of the film.
mm,
Because this isn't a character study on Venom, because it's not the same character as, it's these studios that are like, oh, we can do feature length standalone films on these villains on
mm,
this IP and this IP, but they
mm,
have to completely rewrite a new ideation of the character to do that. And there are
mhm.
people that are going to be upset about it. Like, I know I'm ranting on a little bit about the whole Eddie Brock and Venom and how the character is supposed to be. But out of saying all of that, I still really do enjoy the film. It's not a good film, but it's not a good film, but it's a lot of fun to watch. Like it is, you watch it and there's no because they don't take itself seriously enough, but then tries to take
Mm,
itself seriously. It is almost like one of those
yeah.
films that's so bad it's good, and you just sort of go,
Mm,
"This is fun to watch. I don't have to emotionally invest in any character, and I get to
mm.
see in the most respectful way possible, sexy woman Venom, which is just every man's dream. No, no. But like I don't know. You just go around eating heads. Like it's fun, but
Mm,
it's not a good portrayal really of the character. And it's a
mm.
fun idea if it was maybe a short film or an animated TV series, or like a TV series that was like, I don't know, 6 episodes long and was a comedy.
Yeah, I think this film is considerably better than it could have been. This film could have been a lot worse. I'll say that. Like it could have been a lot worse, but there was I didn't in like it's I don't think it's like an amazing film or anything, but I didn't dislike watching it. I thought it was very watchable, very funny, sometimes intentionally, sometimes not as intentionally. I sort of had it on while I was doing other things, so maybe that helped too.
Yeah.
But I was, I had an eye on it, and then sort of things were happening, and it was just like, and then the film sort of ended. I'm like, oh, that's a bit of an abrupt ending. It's like, oh, it just kind of ended. Oh, okay, I didn't notice that, and then but I mean, and then there's sort of the post credit scene or sort of mid credit scene. It's not after credits, it's the middle credits. With Woody Harrelson, which I found to be a bizarre casting choice. As like, I'm not like
Hilarious
massively
casting choice.
familiar with Cletus Cassidy in the comics and Carnage as a character, but I'm like, I don't think Woody Harrelson fits that. I don't
Yeah,
think
but it's
Woody
funny.
Harrelson is
But it's
is
funny to have it be Woody Harrelson. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think with the Venom films, and I know that we don't give this liberty to literally any other film that we judge on this podcast. Although I sometimes believe that we are quite nice in our ratings. You can't,
mm,
you can't like take them too seriously. Expect them to be good. Like the first film, a
mm,
lot of fun, and then the idea of casting Woody Harrelson against Tom Hardy.
mm,
Like you have two of the great actors of our current generation, and
mm.
they're playing fucking Venom and Carnage. That is hilarious. It is so funny. That is like that.
Mm,
Genuinely, that's like it's a bit of fun.
mm.
But Woody Harrelson has that sort of psychotic look in his eyes, but it could have literally been. It looks nothing like the character. He's too groomed. He's too like
Mm.
yeah.
I feel like he's a bit
Too
old. Like in my mind, Carnage is like the guy who is Carnage is like not a particularly older guy. Like he's not like a 40-year old or anything. He's not.
No, no, he's a Carnage typically like or say what is it, Cletus Cassidy. He's
Yeah.
not middle aged, I don't believe. I actually haven't read any further of the issues. I only ever typically read the Spider-Man ones where Venom appeared. That's why I'm tying it. That's why I think it's crazy that there's no Spider-Man in these films. Again, no access to the IP, but still, don't make the movie. But
Mm,
yeah, Cassidy kind of looks like he'd serve you at like a Macca's. Like he doesn't he doesn't really have the he's not he's not this sort of strong man that you're welcome Woody Harrelson is. Like
mm,
take Zombieland for example, which is a
mm.
comedy based film that Woody Harrelson's in. He's very much like the authoritarian older father slash like older brother figure. Whereas in this
Yeah.
film, he's supposed to be this like equal to Eddie Brock, but also
Yeah.
I don't know. It's I'll be honest, Let There Be Carnage is a bit of a fever dream. Like, honestly, it's like I'm like, so why does he only talk to Eddie Brock because of the interview? But that doesn't make like
Yeah, but how did they
I
learn
feel
about
like
Eddie
they
Brock?
only did because of the final credit scene in the first film, where it seems like they didn't like there was no real purpose for this second film to exist, rather than one making money and two wrapping up a loose end of the first film, and then they end the second film with a loose end that I guarantee you they will not wrap up in the third film. Uh, Eminem's song was okay, but
Oh
no,
my
I
god, yeah,
genuinely
we did. I nearly forgot. Yeah, the Eminem song, the inexplicable Eminem song.
got that with the venom, 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 venom. It's catchy,
I
man. Like,
I remember for my school's mock-up day, someone just printed a bunch of pieces of paper with like the lyrics to Venom and just left them all around the school. Like we'd walk into our
yeah, what
math
we
classroom and there was just like 20 pages of the lyrics to Venom. To put a rating
sorry.
on the first Venom film, I'd give it a 5. Like I don't know if I want to watch it again, but I didn't hate watching it. Like I went in with low expectations. I was like, this isn't like, and it was considerably better than I thought it could have been. Like in terms of what I expect or what I expected, it was much better. Like it's and when because it's Sony, expectations for Sony are very low. Like one of the Amazing Spider-Man films, and I'm not a fan of those films. Like I made it very clear on our Spider-Man episode that I do not like those films, and I think you're in a similar boat as well. But I thought Venom was
Yeah.
much better than I thought it would be, so I gave it a 5 out of 10.
Okay, so just before I give my rating,
Hmm.
we'll quickly. Film is directed by Ruben Fleischer, I believe.
Yes,
Um,
Ruben Fleischer. Yes.
so he obviously we know why he picked Woody Harrelson. Now you look at the Zombieland films. He's also
Yeah. He's...
directing the hotly anticipated Now You See Me 3, and the Uncharted film. 30 minutes or less is also quite a popular film that he directed, and you can see
Mm,
a lot of that. This is quite a comedy. Those similar comedies, especially the Zombieland films. There is a pretty stark comparison when you take a concept of something that could be like horror or
mm.
dark, like
Sorry,
say, The
I'm
Walking
just
Dead.
looking up Ruben Fleischer, and I'm just on his Wikipedia.
IMDb. Cool.
Uh, well, Wikipedia and IMDb, and he directed an Electric Six music video. Actually,
Yeah, he also directed a Dizzy Rascal music video, Stand Up Tall.
yeah, he
But
so I guess
Dance
he got the
Commander, I believe he did.
yeah Dance Commando, which is a banging song. Um, yeah, I mean that's quite common. I feel like there's a lot of filmmakers they start in music videos and like commercials, and then they progress like I think David Fincher started in that as well, and yeah, a lot
Yeah,
of
but
filmmakers start in that.
as much as I think they butchered it as a character, and as much as I don't love the character, it's so much fun. Like when I watch this movie, I'm like, oh, dude, it's just like a good action. It's like a Fast and Furious movie. It's just fun. Like you chuck it on, and you're
Mm,
like, why are they in space? I don't know. Why are they doing this big CGI goo fight? Like I don't know, but
mm.
bring on big CGI goo fight. That's what I say. So yeah, I give this film a 6.5, maybe a 7.
Mm.
Um,
Wow, that's very
and it's one. I think it's really well paced. I will give it that. Um, I
yeah.
think that
It's like 'cause it's a little under it's like an hour 47 minutes or something, but it doesn't feel it. Like it does move at a
no, it moves
quick
quite
pace.
quickly. I never sit there thinking, "Oh, this is a bit long in the tooth." I did with the
Yeah.
second film, but it is very just much like high action 12-year-old boys watching Venom. When did this film come out? It was 2018.
Yeah, like
Yeah, so what, I
October,
was
like
15? So, like so, yeah,
yeah,
like, I was
around then,
15
yeah.
when this came out. Probably 14, 15-year-old boy is peak age for Venom, which again,
Mm,
didn't really care too much, but I was like, "That is just a good chunk of fun." Like, it's a good fun movie to put on.
Mm,
Chuck on Venom, chuck some mattresses out in the lounge room, like in the middle of the lounge, get some blankets. You got a mate over. You've been playing a little bit of, Black Ops, bit of Smash Bros, and then you jump on and chuck on Venom and go to bed, and it's like a fun movie to have going. I don't know. It's just this good
mm,
like boy action film that gets
yeah.
ruined by the second one.
Mm.
But again, not a good film, but a fun film. Like, and I know that's a bit of a double negative, but like,
But yeah, I mean, it was massively successful. The first Venom. It was, I believe, one of the highest grossing films of 2018. Let me just get this up just so I can clarify.
2018 was a bit of a
But
powerhouse for films.
yeah, for like blockbuster. Yeah, Venom was the seventh highest grossing film of 2018, in between Mission Impossible Fallout at eighth and Bohemian Rhapsody at seventh. So it was a it was a big year for like blockbuster films because you had Avengers: Infinity War, you had Black Panther, Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom, Aquaman, Mission Impossible 6, Deadpool 2, Fantastic Beasts 2. Like it was a big blockbuster heavy year that year.
Jeez, when we were
Um
doing an episode on the Fantastic Beasts films and what a nightmare they became.
well maybe when they make that TV show, whenever that TV show that they're apparently working on comes out. But yeah, I mean the first Venom made $856 million, so they obviously greenlit a sequel, which makes sense, a film makes
Oh,
close to a
absolutely,
billion
it makes
dollars. You're gonna make a sequel, and I don't blame
it's,
them. It's like
it's a
because
successful
it turned
IP.
out.
Like
Yeah,
that's just the way they treat successful IPs.
yeah. I mean, and so then yeah, Venom, Let There Be Carnage came out in 2021. A weird year for films, just because everything was delayed because of the COVID pandemic. Like films just were delayed considerably. Um, I believe, I'm just looking here. They sort of So they started filming this. So they finished filming Venom: Let There Be Carnage at the beginning of February. So very like just before COVID really fucked everything over for them. They
Yeah,
started on post production, and then um they had to stop post production because of the COVID pandemic. So it was meant to come out in October of 2020, but then they moved it to June 2021. Then it was moved to September 2021, and then it was then again delayed to October 2021. So um,
it's
they
always
just had
good.
to they kept
It's
delaying
always
it.
good. It's always the sign of a
Um,
good film.
yeah, they kept delaying it. They did initially want to. Uh, they did consider pushing it back to January 2021 because they were worried about the Delta variants and everything. Which I think that would have been weird if it had come out then, because the post-credit scene in Venom: Let There Be Carnage is directly related to Spider-Man: No Way Home, and it would have been weird. I guess they were working under the assumption we might have to delay Spider-Man: No Way Home potentially, um, but
Look, I know
they
exactly what they were. Yeah, and do you know what Sony were thinking as soon as they wrote that into that? Like as soon as that was put into the film, they were like, "Wow, all
mhm,
those fat neckbeards that are obsessed with Spider-Man, aka me, are going to cream at this," which I kind of did. I was so excited for that, and
yeah.
I was like, "Oh, that's really cool." And then yeah, I watched the film.
Yeah, I mean, I
I was like,
think this film is much, much worse than the
"Oh,
first Venom.
it's like not
This
even a
is a
good like."
this is a terrible film.
I don't know. I don't know what because look,
I'm just looking at my list of films from 2021 I've seen, and I think this is in my bottom five of that year. Like it's near the bottom of my list for 2021 releases. It's the fifth worst film I've seen from that year, so it's quite of 60. So it's very
it's
low
just like
down.
something we haven't really mentioned is, although we have talked about the protagonist, the cast typically in these films that they get is actually quite good, quite well versed, quite
Yeah,
a
they're good. They're good actors. Like
With
it is
just,
filled with very solid actors.
but some of the like, especially in okay. So one, well, where do I even hold up? I'm starting to get a bit of a headache. Um, just thinking about the film. Um, okay, let's just talk about how Carnage exists. He bites Eddie
Yes.
Brock because Venom
Mhm.
reacts because someone was talking shit to Eddie.
Mhm.
So let's say Eddie's driving down the street and someone calls him a dumb arsehole because he doesn't indicate. Venom just killing people? Like, you can't, again, this is a part of the have your cake and eat it too. You want it to be a buddy comedy where he can only hurt bad people and stuff. But then, like, actively
Mm.
is detrimental to you. I don't know. It just seems very like, okay, well, everything that we had set up, like, lore wise, on how this symbiote is going to work in this universe,
Mhm.
it no longer really applies. It's sort of fair game for everyone. Hey, you like this character? She was fun. Yeah, let's make her
Mm.
Venom. Like, I don't know. It just seemed very like it incredibly half-assed and like I understand that 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 okay. So I understand that Ruben Fleischer directed both films,
Did he?
but it's
Did he direct the second one?
I believe he directed Let There Be Carnage as well. No, that was Andy
Uh,
Serkis. Well, all
yeah,
right.
Andy
Oh,
Serkis directed it. Yeah.
yeah, sorry, no, he worked on the production team for it. But
Mm.
it's and Andy Serkis, Lord of the Rings, great. Planet of the Apes,
Mm.
great. It's almost like
Yeah.
you damn near didn't watch Venom 1 because Venom 1 struggled so much with tone, but it was leaning heavily comedy. This doesn't
Mm.
really, this is like outrageous. I don't know. It's hard to
I
watch.
think this film to me feels like it's trying way too hard to be funny. Like this
Yeah, so it
film,
stops being funny.
yeah, it feels like it's sort of like, oh, we're in on the joke, and now it's like, oh, we're making jokes, like we're actively making jokes now, and it just doesn't work. It feels really quite it's quite poorly
It's
done. This is a
the
bad
reason
film.
Venom worked and the way that this is what I contributed to, and some people might disagree, but the first Venom film is Hawk Tour spit on that thing. Everyone loved it, and then she cashed it for everything she could and made a podcast.
Mm,
Like, like it was funny because it wasn't like it was just sort of out of the blue,
mm,
and yeah, they were trying to be funny and it worked. And then
mm.
they just keep driving this, like, oh, you thought this was funny,
Yeah,
so you keep, and
yeah.
then it stops
It's
being
this.
funny and
Yeah,
starts being
yeah.
grating.
The idea of running a bit into the ground. Like, you were funny one time and you just keep hitting that same sort of
And,
point, and it's like,
and there are ways
it just doesn't work.
that you can do. There are ways that you can do that come across as a beloved feature of all your films. Not all your films, but a beloved feature of that type of film. For example, take like the way okay, so in an Edgar Wright film, the way Simon Pegg and Nick Frost talk to each other is they usually go, "Oh, possum. Oh,
Mhm,
possum." Like that's what someone calls Nick Frost. And that could get incredibly grating if it wasn't for the fact that they used it at the right times and that wasn't the core of the comedy of their film. But now it's
mm.
just like, you liked Eddie Brock and Venom being goofy. Here is only that. Here is a Family Guy
Yeah.
fucking Venom. Like that's what it feels like. Feels like
Yeah.
I don't know. If yeah, I don't know. It just it struggles a lot with tone balance, but also the good thing about the tone balance or imbalance in the first film is that at least the first film had somewhat interesting like ideas, whereas this one's
Mm,
just kind of the first film again, but with more jokes. It's almost it's
mm,
almost what led to the downfall in my head of the Deadpool Wolverine film,
mm.
where you could start to sort of think that okay, this meta shit's starting to get quite annoying. like,
Yeah.
especially when it's all he does.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Whereas, like, yeah, it's the same with this film as well. It's this goofy, like, two kids that have this crazy superpower that, like, almost as if they have no, like, fucking intelligence or awareness on, like, what's going on. I don't know. It's hard to care or take them seriously. At least in the first one, you could take them somewhat seriously because they at least try to take themselves seriously.
Mm,
But yeah, it just struggles. It
yeah.
struggles a lot with tone, worse than the first, but also the pacing is god awful. This film takes forever. I'm watching it and I'm like, oh,
And I will say that Venom: Let There Be Carnage is shorter than the first film,
yeah, it feels longer though.
but it yeah, one thing it's just so poorly paced. The characters are all terrible. Like Woody Harrelson is so bad in this film, and I don't want. I want to chalk it up to writing than his act. I mean, I
Oh,
don't.
the bit where he's in the convertible and he's looking at the like carnage in the mirror of the, and I'm like, that's goofy. Yeah, that's so
Yeah, it's
goofy.
just.
I'm like,
And then there's like his love interest who's in it as well, like his sort of wife or girlfriend or whoever that he's
ex.
like.
Oh yeah, and
Yeah,
she gets killed by the bell. That's funny. Like,
I hate that so much. The classic dropping a bridge on a cat. It's just a big thing falls on a
it's just
character
like,
and that's how they die.
dude. That's like the Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. Like, just let's just drop a big thing on them and don't worry about them. But you never know, are they
Mm,
really dead? Like, I don't know,
yeah, I
goofy.
thought.
Like Blue Eyes, the Blue Eyes scene where it's like he's actually alive and he has blue eyes. It's like, okay,
Oh, I thought that was terrible, and that's a weird thing because they got Stephen Graham in this film as like the police captain or whatever, and it's just so weird because he has like a very strong natural Scouse accent, like Scout English Scouse accent, and I don't know why he's being made to do an American accent because it just doesn't sound right.
it can
Like I
be
don't know
incredibly
why.
jarring. Yeah,
Yeah, it's like when when films cast Colin Farrell but they have him do an American accent. It's like why would you cast Colin Farrell and not let him
put a
use
little Marvin Gaye back in. Yeah,
his regular Irish accent? Like, why would you do that? Um, but yeah, this it's a bad film. I really it just so incomprehensible. The fight isn't even that fun. Like it like
oh, boring. I'm just like, can we get to the end of the film?
it's just like, and this should be like when we talk about Alien versus Predator, I think we both agreed that like the fight sequences between the aliens and the predators should be fun, and they're just not. And this film should be the same. The fight between Carnage and Venom should be fun. Like
It should be like explosive and fun, but it just drags.
it's
Yeah,
so
because especially
yeah.
considering how much leeway you have, like they're literally kind of fluid. Like there's
Yeah.
so much fight choreographing that could happen that would make this phenomenal.
Yeah, and it's yeah, I really don't like this film. I think it's a poorly it thinks it's in on the joke, but then it it's not funny enough to like actually be in on the joke. Like
Yeah,
it's not yeah, it just doesn't work because like it thinks it's being knowingly funny. Like that's the problem. Is it thinks it's so funny. It thinks it's like this like, oh, we know what we're doing because we're being funny on purpose. And then that just leads it to being bad
cringe.
because
It's
it's
cringy. Like it's
yeah,
kind of cringe, which is
yeah.
like such a Gen Z way to say it, but it is like it. I watched some, especially some of the freaking interactions with Woody Harrelson's character, and I'm like, oh, like it
Yeah.
kind of makes me angry. I'm kind of just like, oh man, why would you? Oh, just stop talking. Like, I do love that they don't really mess around with the death of his character at all, even though he's supposed to be like the arch nemesis to Venom, which is Spider Man.
Yeah,
But anyway, like, oh, this is
yeah, no,
Venom's
they deal with.
hardest challenge.
Yeah, I do like that.
And he
Oh,
just eats
sorry,
his
this
head. And I'm
film's
like,
so
yeah.
boring. I'm fucking yawning now. Sorry, I'm
Oh,
just
dude,
the film is
it's
just
wild.
so boring that it's making me tired. But there's just that bit where like he eats like the Carnage like Venom symbiote or whatever it is, and then he
Cletus.
just and then he's like, ah, fuck this guy, and then he just eats his head off, and it's just like again that is framed as like a joke, like this is meant to be a ha ha funny thing. He could have this like it sort of feels like it's trying to be like, oh, he's gonna do the heroic thing, he's gonna be like, you just gotta leave this guy, and it's like nope, and he just eats him, and it's like, God, sorry, it's unprofessional to be yawning while we're recording, but dude, this film's just so boring.
No, it's completely and utterly fine. I mean, when you look at I one of my pet hates is when the sequel doesn't build on the first film. This doesn't build on the first film. It builds on like a
That's
post-credit scene. But like there's no development for the
yeah.
character. We get nothing and no resolution from his like troubled ex love interest, which should be a big part of Tom Hardy, even though
Yeah,
realistically he's supposed to
they
be gross
do,
women
yeah.
out.
They do
Like
like 5 minutes of that, honestly, where there's like 5 minutes of that where he like talks to his like ex-girlfriend or whatever, and she's like, "Oh, I'm engaged," or whatever it is. And then there's the terrible bit at the end where they're like falling down, like she's falling
and
down, but
and
like the
yeah,
symbiote comes out and she like gets the symbiote and like or like the guy gets the symbiote. I don't. It's just it's bizarre 'cause, like the guy gets the symbiote and then he lands down and saves her, and then they save Eddie, and it's just like, what is this? This is just like so poorly.
cheap,
It's just shit.
such a
Like,
cheap way to end the film. But if we're going to speak on something about the end of this film, I want to speak on the weird fucking multiverse shit. So
yeah. So the mid-credit scene,
is
um,
so you've got Spider-Man No Way Home. You can't mention that without talking about Spider-Man No Way Home. No Way Home,
yeah,
genuinely pretty good film. I really enjoy that one. I
yeah,
could honestly be because my two favorite Spider-Man in it. Well, some of my favorite Spider-Man ever are in the film. And again, I don't hate Tom Holland's Spider-Man. I just don't like Far From Home. I like Homecoming and I like
yeah,
No Way Home. And I think that
mm,
I mean we've sort of spoken about, but like spoilers, the death of Aunt May, everything like that works incredibly well for its
yeah,
favor. And then just at
mhm.
the end of Venom 2, as to go like, hey, don't forget about Venom though, it's like leaves it one. That's not how it works. You can't just leave a piece of you behind. Your entire matter would live. Like it would go. That's part of you. It would go back to the universe that you came
mm,
from. Two, why
yeah,
would this universe have a vendetta against that Peter
yeah.
Parker
It
when we
doesn't
have
make any
zero
logical
context
sense.
and he lives on the other side of the country in San Francisco, which is a weird
Yeah,
way to place to put
and
Venom.
because from my
Such a weird
memory
place.
of No Way Home, the characters, like the villains that get brought over to the Tom Holland universe, they know who Spider-Man is. They like know his identity. They know he's Peter Parker, right?
So
Like it's
either
not.
Venom or Tom Hardy does, and either Venom takes place in the Amazing Spider-Man. It has to take place in the Amazing Spider-Man universe. It can't take place in any other because he goes from a universe. So it must take
Yeah.
place in the Amazing Spider-Man universe, which is either setting up Amazing Spider-Man 3, which I still dream about, or
Mhm.
in Venom 3, which isn't going to fucking happen because it looks like it's just going to be like a borderline rom-com between the two characters. Um, they will have Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man appear at some point
Mm.
because they know who Peter Parker is. So it can't be a Miles Morales Spider-Man. So it has to be Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man. But why is it set in San Francisco? And that just makes me more angry because you could have had Spider-Man the whole time. Like it to me, it's the same as like the Joker, like the directly leading to like Batman's parents getting killed in the Joker. Like it's just dumb. It's just shoot in there for fanfare and only causes more problems than it solves. Because all I can think about is like, so you're telling me that we could have had Andrew Garfield's Amazing Spider-Man in the first Venom film, and you guys chose to not do that? And we're definitely not going to get him in the third. And if we do, then I will jump on next episode. I'm not going to see this film in cinemas. I made that mistake. Um, but I don't know. It'll come out. If he is in the film, then I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do next episode, but I'll make it up to you. But I don't think he will be. And that, again, it aggravates me, like, genuinely. Because you have such a
Mm,
character that with so much potential, so much peak, that is so vital to Venom. And that's why the
yeah.
films don't work. Like, yeah. But I also still got very excited when I saw that because I thought, oh, we're going to get Andrew Garfield Spider-Man. And then I watched the trailer for Venom, whatever the fuck this last one's going to call, Till Death or whatever.
Mm.
And I'm just going, okay, well, I don't know. Who knows? Maybe Venom 3 is going to be amazing. Who's directing it? Do you know?
Oh, I don't know. Give me a second. I will look this up because I don't think it's Andy Serkis or Ruben Fleischer. I don't believe. Venom: The Last Dance. Kelly Marcel, who has directed. She's never directed anything, but She was a writer on Saving Mr. Banks, 50 Shades of Grey, and she was a writer for the other two Venom films. Uh,
So,
so that's what her resume of work looks like. So that's not uh like instilling me with massive confidence. Um, really, to be honest. Um,
yeah.
yeah, I mean, I'm not massively looking forward to Venom: The Last Dance. Just to quickly put my rating on Venom: Let There Be Carnage, I give it a 4 out of 10, which feels a bit generous, honestly. Now that I'm thinking about it, but it's, it's not a good film. It's not a good film at all. It's quite bad.
It's like a 3 or a 4. Like, it's not worth your
Yeah,
time. Honestly, watch the first one. It's a standalone film. And just don't watch the post credit scene. Just don't watch the bit where he goes and sees
yeah,
Carnage. You'll watch the film and you'll be like,
yeah,
ah, that was fun. It was a fun
yeah.
standalone film that takes place in a completely separate universe. Doesn't involve Spider Man, but you know what? That was okay. And then when they build onto it and they start building up the universe, and you go, okay, so there's now 2 films in a severe lack of Spider Man, and that's all I've been complaining about.
Mm,
And then I just looked at the cast list for the third film, which
mhm,
obviously some greats in there from Ted Lasso with Juno Temple and
mhm, yep,
Crisio Fernandez and Reese Ifans or Risa Farnes. How do you pronounce it
yeah.
properly?
I think it's Risa Fans, I think is the pronunciation.
Risa Farnes.
Uh,
Which I'm
and
like,
he
oh,
was
cool, lizard. He's not the lizard. That
yeah, he's apparently he's not been cast as the Lizard, even though it would be very easy for him to just be the Lizard. Like I don't.
uh, yeah, that really that ruins me. That hurt. That cuts me a bit because I do kind of really like the Amazing Spider-Man films. They grow on
Oof,
me quite because
oof.
they're in the same
Um,
context that they're quite fun. Like I don't take them seriously like I would the Sam Raimi films, which I think is something to aspire to direct like or
mhm,
write like or build a character from. It's very much a heroic Spider-Man, whereas this one does feel like a 15-year-old, not 15-year-old, like a 22-year-old's playing Spider-Man, which I think is again quite fun. Um,
mhm.
but if you want, just before I let you go, again, 3 or 4, I give that film. But if you want a good solo Risa Farnes film, watch Danny Deckchair.
Okay, I don't know if I've heard of that one.
So what Danny Deckchair
Mhm.
is, he's a dude from Sydney, and
Okay.
he attaches a bunch of helium balloons to a deck chair, and then he floats away to a town called Bellingen, and it was filmed in the hometown where my dad, like when my family lived at the time. My dad talks about like walking on set because they filmed it on their street and getting like
Mm.
breakfast from the set and stuff. It was like such this
Right.
huge thing, but it's this tiny little Aussie film where he goes up to,
Mm,
they call it the Clarence, but it's in Bellingen around Coffs Harbour. And yeah,
mm,
quite a quite an interesting watch.
mhm,
But yeah, that was my first ever Reese Ifans film I watched, and I
mm.
love it. I think it's very funny. But yeah, amazing. Like I don't know, TLDR, put Spider Man in a Venom film. I don't think it's that fucking hard to wrap your head around. Like it, but don't put Venom in a Spider Man film. Do you know what I mean? Because if it's a Spider Man film, you can have Venom in it, but only have Venom in it.
Yeah. I mean I think that's
Hey,
pretty much it. I don't think we've really got that
it's
much to
morbing
say.
time. That's what Morbius now.
So yeah, we'll talk about Venom: The Last Dance in the review of the year. Hopefully, if one of us has seen it, but I'm not sure I'll go to pay to see it. To be honest, I'm not entirely sure yet. Thank you, Harry, for joining me for this week's episode.
Thank you for having me. I guess this is going to be a, yeah, glowing reviews from us.
Yeah. And then yeah, I'm sure I'll get you on again at some point. I'll look at what the upcoming sort of
Yeah, I will
schedule
have to
is.
let you know, just being that I'm moving and I'll probably have
Yeah,
considerably
yeah,
worse to like little to no internet
yeah, yeah, yeah.
when I move because it's out kind
Mm,
of rurally. Yeah,
yeah,
it might be like a less consistent thing that I'm on. But I
yeah,
like
yeah.
things like the review of the year is something I can make time for. Well, not make time
Yeah,
for,
well,
but just tell my
I'll send
housemates,
you a
hey, I'm going to
list.
use the internet. Like,
Yeah, and I'll send you a list of what we're going to be covering in the review of the year, so you know what sort of you need to
yeah,
uh, catch up on. I'll send you that a few weeks beforehand, just so you've got the general idea of what you need to sort of be caught up on. I think you've probably seen a few things already, possibly. But yeah, I'll send you through that when we're a bit closer to that day. So yeah, thank you for joining me for this week's episode. I hope you've enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next one. Goodbye.